This video is going to be on different fitness testing. Okay, so if you think at school, what do we actually do? We do something called the multi-stage fitness test, but we call it the bleep test. You have to see how long you can keep going. Okay, now the question is, does anybody know how far you put the cones out between the bleep test? It's 20 meters. That's a 20-meter shuttle run is what you have to do each time. Now if you wanted to, you can download a bleep test app and have a go in your garden. That's one of the ones we're not going to talk about. Okay, but you could also do the Cooper run. That is also measures how fit you are, measures your cardiovascular endurance. And the Cooper run is a 12-minute run. So it's how far you can go in 12 minutes. So it could be that you, in your garden, see how many laps of your garden you could do in 12 minutes. And you could work out then how far you travel in those 12 minutes. Now, I'm also going to talk through some other tests. Now, we have something called a muscle endurance test. So that's how long your muscles can keep working for. Now, the two tests we'll talk about for these is one, the press-up test, and it's how many press-ups you can do in 1 minute. So once again, that's a test, and you could actually write your score down, do that test, and see what you score. The other one is how many sit-ups you can do in 1 minute. So once again, it's working as hard as you can for 1 minute, and you write yourself a score down. So there are actually a couple of things you could test in your garden. You could see how far you travel in 12 minutes for the Cooper run. You could see how many sit-ups you do in 1 minute, and write your scores down. Now I'm also going to talk about a couple of other tests. Now there is a test for speed. Now that's going to be very difficult to do in our garden because it's called a 30-meter sprint test. Now if you've got a 30-meter garden, fantastic, you might be able to do it, but I wouldn't be able to show you that in my garden. Okay. Now another one is a strength test, and you actually have a machine where you squeeze as hard as you can and it measures your strength. Now we could do a power test, and that is how high you can jump. So that one explosive movement is how powerful you are. So you could measure up against a wall and jump and see how high you can touch on the wall, and you can see if your power gets better and better by seeing if you can keep touching higher and higher and higher up a wall. Another test is looking for our flexibility. So can you stretch and touch your toes with your legs straight? As you can touch your toes, it means you're very flexible. If you can actually get past your toes, it means your flexibility is fantastic. If you can't get to your toes, it means your flexibility, we need to improve it. The next one is an agility test. So agility is how quick you change direction and set off again. Now I'm going to show an agility test in a little bit. It's something you can set up in your garden. So we'll go on to the agility test. That was the first one we talk about. Now we've also got a reaction time test which we'll talk about, and you can do that at home, and all you need is a ruler. Balance test, we'll talk about this one as well, and we'll show you how to do this one. And this is how long you can balance for on one leg, but there's a couple of little things you've got to do first. And we also can talk through coordination test. Coordination test is throwing a tennis ball against a wall with one hand and catching it with the other and seeing how many you can do in 1 minute. So we'll talk through these different tests. Now, what I've got set up in my garden is I've got the agility test set up, and I'll show you now how you set it up. So, for the agility test, you need 8 cones or 8 single shoes, something you can put down to mark. Now, if you can see, that is my start. The second cone is in the top corner of the garden, and that is 10 meters away. I then have 4 cones spread down the middle, evenly spaced out. I then have a corner, and from that white cone in the corner there, to that white cone in the corner there, that is 5 meters. So it's a 10 meter by 5 meter box, and our finish line is this cone at the end here. So what we'll do is we'll walk it through now. So what you have to do is you start at the beginning, and you're supposed to start lying down. So when we say go, you stand up and you run as quick as you can to this top cone, and we go around the top cone. We then run all the way back down to this end cone in the middle. Now from this end cone in the middle, we have to now go in and out of the cones. So I'm weaving in and out of the cones. I then get to this top one and I turn around and I go back along the line of my cones. So I've weaved in and out twice, and when you get to this end cone, we run as quick as we can up to our top cone. We're around the top cone, and then as quick as we can to our finish line. Okay, and then we finish. So that is how we do the agility run. And what you want to do is time it and see how quick you can actually complete it. Right, the next test is the stalk stand test. This is going to test your balance, and Jess is going to show us how to do this test. So what you have to do is you have to pick one foot up and put it on the sole of your foot on your knee. So in that position here. Okay, now is how long you can stay in this position for, but the test does not start until the foot weight on the floor's heel has to rise up off the floor and stay in that position. As soon as they come out of that position where their heel touches the floor, or they take their foot off the knee, then the timer stops. The longer you can hold that position with your heel off the floor, with your foot on your knee, the better balance you have. Right, the next test is reaction time, and we use this by using a ruler. Now if you've got a 100 centimetre ruler, that's better, but we've only got a 30 centimetre ruler here. So what you do is you put your thumb over the 5 centimetre mark. Now without telling them, you let go of the ruler, and the person has to try and stop the ruler with their thumb. Now, the score what you get, so you get, stop it on 8 centimetre mark, that is your score. Now, the smaller number you get, the better. That means the quicker you have reacted. So this is going to be Jess's attempt. Are we ready? So Jess's score was 14. Right, our next test is going to be the flexibility test. Now you get the person to sit on their floor with their legs straight. Their legs have to stay straight. And what we can do is we can get our 30 centimetre ruler and we can put 0 on their big toe. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jess to stretch as far as she can. So stretch as far as she can, touch the ruler, and she touched it there, which was 18 centimetres. So we're now looking at legs straight, seeing how far you can stretch. Now if you're struggling to stretch all the way to your toes, what we can do is you can move that ruler and put like 10 centimetres on a big toe, and then it would just be minus before she got to things. It might be that she gets to -7 before touching her toes. Or if they are very flexible, you put it on the 0 and you see how far they can get past that point. So that is the flexibility test.